This is the EDC 37, the latest release from Nitecore in the EDC series, but it could be their biggest and baddest yet. Let's check it out. And this is everything the Nitecore EDC 37 comes with. Give you a close-up of the box there, nice product shot on the front, and yeah, 8,000 lumens. Check out the back there. Comes with a USB-A to USB-C charging cable. A really cool OD green paracord lanyard right here. I like this. In this bag is a screwdriver slash wrench with some extra screws, and this wrench is to take off the glass breaking tips. Some warranty information, a user manual, and of course, the EDC 37 itself. But I'm gonna put all this off to the side, right over here, and give you a nice close-up of the brand new Nitecore EDC 37. And while you guys are checking this out, check out those cores there. Let's talk about some of the features. All right, the Nitecore EDC 37 has a maximum output of 8,000 lumens, a maximum throwing distance of 420 meters, a max intensity of 44,010 candela, a max runtime of 190 hours on ultra low, and a 365-day standby time. And pushing out those 8,000 lumens are dual NiteLab UHi 20 max LEDs with 9 cores per LED for a total of 18 cores. It features 7 different lighting modes, 4 cyclable brightness levels, and 3 special modes, strobe, search, and lumen shield. And those modes can be controlled with dual stage, dual tail switches. It also features a mechanical lockout switch, which Nitecore calls the rapid lock system. It's honestly one of my favorite lockout systems right now. Inside, there's a built-in 8,000 milliamp hour lithium-ion battery that can be charged via the USB-C charging port on the outside of the body. The 8,000 milliamp hour battery inside is basically 2 4,000 milliamp hour 18650s. But surprisingly, no power bank function. Inside, there's a carbon fiber composite frame surrounded by left and right stainless steel shelves on the outside. And it also has a multifunctional OLED display that reads out lumens, runtime, battery life, and more. It has a dust and waterproof rating of IP54. The 5 means it's dust protected but has a limited ingress of dust permitted. And the 4 means it's protected against water splashed from all directions. That means it's not protected against water jets and is not submersible. And has a 2-meter impact resistance. All right, let's talk dimensions. It comes in at 4.25 inches by 1.55 inches and is 1.22 inches thick. And now let's weigh this bad boy. Put it right on the scale. 7.1 ounces, and in grams, that's 202 grams. So this is where I usually talk about everything on the body, but my flashlight videos have been upwards of 25 minutes lately, so I'm gonna try to cut that back a little bit. I already went over most of the features, but I'm just gonna touch on a few things that I didn't really talk about in that previous segment. And one of those things is the design of this body here. You can see this armor style texture for grip right here. That reminds me a lot of the EDC 29. So if I show you the EDC 29 right there, and then let me try to get in the light. The EDC 37, very, very similar style. Both bodies are made of stainless steel with that armor looking texture. I think it looks really cool. And even though the brand new EDC 37 is a lot thicker than the 29, this is what I consider it to be closely related to, except it's a lot longer and a lot less thick. The EDC 37 is like a brick. I mean, look at this thing. It is literally built like a freaking tank. In fact, I'll bring that back in so you can see the size differences right there. Oop, keep turning it on. There's the length. Here's from the side right there. And then right down the barrel so you can see those differences. And speaking of right down the barrel there, I want to give you guys a better close-up at those dual NiteLab UHi 20 max LEDs with those 9 cores per LED. So that main core right dead center is responsible for the spotlight, and those 8 auxiliary cores that surround it are responsible for the floodlight. These are some of my favorite LEDs in flashlights. The technology is mind-blowing here. But unfortunately, the EDC 37 is still going to suffer from a negative that I basically complained about in almost every single EDC series flashlight from Nitecore. And that is in the lower modes, ultra low and low. I wish they didn't have such an intense hotspot. And I know the technology is there to cut out that hotspot right there since all these cores are separated. So in ultra low and low, I don't want that intense hotspot. I just want that nice outer nice floody straight across outer perimeter. And then as you get into medium, let me go up to low right there, and then medium, 400 lumens. That's when we can start introducing that hotspot there. I was sort of hoping with this release, they took my advice, which I'm sure they're not watching my videos, but if they are, they would know that get rid of that hotspot there in ultra low and low. I just think that'll be more functional, especially if I'm going to carry this every day. And if you're familiar with Nitecore at this point, you're going to be familiar with this multifunctional OLED display that shows the level, the lumen level, the battery life, and the runtime information right there. And the EDC 37 has one of my favorite features from the EDC series flashlights that carried over. It is this ability to preset when the flashlight is off. You just half press this tail button right here, choose which lighting level you want, and then when you find it, full press and activates that lumen level. It is one of the most useful features in these Nitecore EDC flashlights. I love it. And these dual stage, dual tail switches right here, they are not silicone, they are a hard plastic. This is the tail button and this is the customizable button. You can actually customize this to do different things when you half press or full press. You can choose either strobe, search, or lumen shield. Right now I have it half press search and full press lumen shield. And then going back to the head here, you can see those 4 glass breaking tips. Those are 4 silicon nitride ceramic tips, and you do have the ability to remove those. Remember that wrench I showed you earlier? You just have to take that wrench and twist these off. But for me, these are staying right there. I really like these tips right here. It's pretty aggressive and makes this a really good choice as a self-defense flashlight, especially with that lumen shield 8,000 lumen burst. And yes, it is a burst. We'll go over that when I do my lumen test a little bit later on, but you don't get much time at that 8,000 lumens. Surprise, surprise. And then let me give you guys a close-up of that extra long pocket clip right there. It almost goes all the way down to the very tip of the flashlight. It's not a deep carry pocket clip. You'll have about 1.5 inches sticking above your pockets, and then this little section right here is where you thread the lanyard. Now let's go over the lumens and runtime information. So ultra low, 15 lumens, has a runtime of 190 hours. That's right, it's an ultra low 15 lumen. There is no moonlight in this flashlight, which, yeah, I'm going to count that as a negative. But let's move on. Low is 100 lumens and has a 30-hour runtime. Mid is 400 lumens and has a runtime of 8 hours and 30 minutes. That's the sweet spot. 400 lumens, love it. High is 1500 lumens, has a runtime of 7 hours and 30 minutes. And now for the special mode. Search, which is the spotlight, 3000 lumens, doesn't have a runtime because it's a burst mode. And that's where you're going to get that maximum 420 meters throwing distance and the max intensity of 44,010 candela. And then Lumen Shield, which is the floodlight, 8,000 lumens. Once again, no runtime because it's a burst. 380 meters of throw, 37,550 candela. And then strobe, a full 8,000 lumens. The strobe in this is ridiculous. I'm not going to demonstrate it here. I think the mode spacing here is really decent, but man, why not give us moonlight mode or a firefly mode? That 15 lumens, it's just too bright. And now the UI with the 2 tail switches on the back with the tail button right here. You can half press to pre-select which mode you want. So let's start right there on ultra low, give it a full press and activates the flashlight. So half press, you can cycle through low, medium, and high right there. You can see the 4 cyclable brightness levels. Full press to turn it off. If you want to activate ultra low from off, just half press that tail button right there. There's your 15 lumen ultra low. And it does have a mode memory, so if I put it on medium, turn it off, turn it right back on, it goes right to medium. And now the customizable button. You can customize this 3 different ways with strobe, search, or lumen shield based on where you want to put it. Right now I have it set up where a half press goes right to search mode, 3000 lumens, and you can see that timer start instantly. And then a full press goes to Lumen Shield, 8,000 lumens, and we're not going to get a lot of time here. You can already see that timer going, and I'm just going to leave it here. You can see exactly how much time you get. Now that goes from 8,000 lumens to about 1,400 lumens with that step down, and you'll see that with my Lumen test a little bit later on. But it takes a little bit of time for this to fill back up. You can see it's not quick to fill up at all, and it is really hot. I'll do a heat test and let you guys know exactly how hot this gets, but even right now I can't leave my fingers there for any extended amount of time. That is hot. And I've decided just to leave this here for the last 20 seconds or so, and that's the progress I have. It is taking a long time for this thing to boot back up to be able to go another 8,000 lumens. And it's been right around 1 minute and 20 seconds, and there's my progress. And I already showed you guys the lockout, but I'll show you again. Right now it's unlocked, click it over, now it's locked. That simple. All right, time for my Lumen test. These are the results that I got on ultra low, on low, on mid, high, search, and Lumen Shield. And you can see exactly how long I got on Lumen Shield. It stepped down to about 1400 lumens, and then it actually steps down again. So here's where I usually do a turbo runtime test, but since it's just a burst mode with the EDC 37, and you guys basically already know how long this thing lasts with 8,000 lumens, I decided to test high, the 1500 lumens instead. And I let the test run for about 2 minutes. So I'll put on the screen exactly when the initial step down started, and where the initial step down ended, and where the lumens were at. And of course, where the lumens were after the 2-minute test was over. All right, let's do the beam test. We're going to start right on 15 lumens, right there. And ultra low, I'm not going to spend too much time there. As you can see right there. So let's go right to 100 lumens. This is low. And yes, I am hitting that tree already, and I'll put up a distance between me and the tree. Scan across, and me and the barn. Easily hitting that barn already, even on low, 100 lumens. And just so you guys know, it looks a lot brighter. That horizon looks a lot brighter than it actually is. It's right around 10:30 at night right now. So it's, you know, not dark, but, you know, it's dark. But the camera makes it look a little bit lighter than what it is. But look at that hotspot. That is a pretty large hotspot. You can see that pretty well-defined outer perimeter as well. The beam looks fairly even from that middle hotspot out to the outer perimeter, as you can see. So far, the beam profile looks really nice. But once again, as I was saying earlier, ultra low and low right here, I wish that hotspot wasn't there. I just wish it was the, you know, the flood. Those 8 auxiliary cores can handle 100 lumens and make it look like a nice evenly spread beam. But whatever, maybe one day Nitecore will listen to me and just give us one release that way. But let's move on. 400 lumens, the sweet spot. So this is medium. And yeah, it's scan across. Look at that. So I call this a sweet spot because you're going to get the most runtime with the maximum amount of lumens and still be able to see, you know, 90% of what you're going to need to see at night when it's dark. And I'm looking, I don't see any deer, any foxes, or no raccoons or nothing. Where are these guys at tonight? A little disappointing. But yeah, even that 400 lumens, really decent. And now let's go to, there's high, 1500 lumens. So let's switch back. High, there we go. So you guys can see that switch. Boom. Illuminating that tree pretty nicely. Oh yeah, I can see all those trees there. Scan across my property line there, and then right down to the barn. Am I getting those back trees back there? Not that one, but the one behind that. I don't think I am. But we're going to be able to see once I hit that search. In fact, let me just leave it right here and go right to search. Half press, and okay, I can see them, but there's a lot of mist in the air right now, so it's kind of, it's hurting my distance here. And man, it's getting hot. And I might have to wait a little bit to try Lumen Shield because I want to have this fully charged up before I show you guys that 8,000 Lumen Shield. So I'm going to pause the video right here. I'll be right back.
11 minutes later.
All right, it's been a few minutes, so I'm going to try the 8,000 Lumen Shield here. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Jeez. Look at that. Like I said, these LEDs, oh, I already stepped down once and my hand is on fire. Holy crap. It gets to about 157 degrees, that head, very, very quickly. And there's the second step down right there. So I'm going to let that go. So you guys saw what those LEDs are capable of doing. But man, like I said, these LEDs are so sophisticated and such, they're so ahead of their time that these bodies and the heat sinks and the way they cool down these flashlights hasn't caught up yet. It's just too powerful for its own good. And too powerful for its own good is a perfect way to describe the EDC 37. I think it's an awesome, innovative flashlight. Will I carry it? Yes, I'm going to carry this. But let's go over some pros and cons of the EDC 37. The first pro is the 8,000 lumens is bright AF. Yes, you're only getting a few seconds with that 8,000 lumens, but as you guys just saw, you're turning night into day. Another pro is because of the shape and weight of the EDC 37, I think it makes a good everyday carry self-defense flashlight. Another pro and one of my favorite features from the EDC series is the ability to preset your lighting level without having to turn the flashlight on. And I really like the high mode here in the EDC 37, the 1500 lumen mode. As you saw from my lumen test, you're getting a decent amount of time at that 1500 lumens with a really gradual drop off. Now let's go over some negatives here. The first negative is no moonlight mode. And before I move on here, if you guys saw any of my other reviews for any EDC series flashlights from Nitecore, you're probably already gonna know the next negatives because they're almost identical. The built-in battery, yes, that's always going to be a negative for me. The IP54 dust and waterproof rating is a negative because the 4, in real life terms, is just rainproof. And no, it will not survive being submerged. So if you drop this in a pool or a lake, dead. So for a flashlight I intend to carry every day, the IP54 rating, no good. And even though I counted the shape and the weight as a positive, I think the 7.1 ounces for most people could be a deal breaker because yes, for a flashlight, it is fairly hefty. And the last negative is with an 8,000 milliamp hour battery built in here, why not give us a power bank function? I feel like they really missed an opportunity to have an 8,000 milliamp hour power bank in your pocket when you're not using this during the day. And if you guys want to check this out for yourself, I will have links down below in my description box. But if you did enjoy this video, please give me that thumbs up. Please subscribe and go!